Hi class, I hope you are all doing well. I wanted to honor a request to show you all how to set up an MLA document in Word or O365, specifically the online version. So I'm going to walk you through that process. So first of all, you want to make sure that you have 1-inch margins around your entire document. So what you're going to do is go up here to this menu, and you're going to go to Layout. Once you're in Layout, you'll see that there is a Margins section here. Click on that. And right now it looks like we're good to go. We are at 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, all the way around here. But if for some reason you aren't on this, 1 inch all around formatting, maybe if you're on the narrow or whatever, just click over to the 1 inch one. If for some reason this isn't showing up, I have no idea why it wouldn't. But if it's not, you can actually scroll down and do custom margins. And this is where you can go ahead and put in, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch all the way. Okay. Once you have those in, just click OK. So now we have our margins taken care of. Now we want to add a header with our last name and page number. Now you'll see here that our headers are kind of hidden. I can't just click them, for example. Like if you're on the desktop version, usually you can just double click and it'll make your headers editable. Here in the online version though, if you look over, there's these little tabs here. If I scroll over it, it says header. If I scroll down to the bottom, it has one and it says footer, right? So now the header and footer then are basically the text that appears at the very top and the very bottom of your page respectively. So I want to add information into my header or footer. So I can access it by clicking this, right? And you'll see that it has the box on the top and the bottom where I can input the information that I want found in my header or footer. Another way that you can access this, you can go to the insert function and it should say header and footer there. I believe it also has it in this view section. If you have it in view, there's also a header and footer section there. So you can access it any of these ways. Now, once I'm in my header and footer, basically anything by default that you put into your header or your footer is going to be repeated as it appears or as you typed it on every single page of your document. Okay, that's like its initial functionality. So what I want to do is I'm going to put my page number in here first. So I'm going to go to Insert up at the top, and right next to where it says header and footer, it says page numbers. So I'm going to click page numbers, and I'm going to choose this option that has the page number on the top right hand corner. So I'm going to click that, and you'll notice that it has this weird group of symbols here. Now it's basically a greater than, less than with a hashtag or pound sign or the number sign in the middle of it. Now, as I said, anything you put in your header and footer typically gets repeated on every single page. So if I were to manually, for example, just put a number 1 here for my page number, this wouldn't work because it's just going to copy that 1 on every single page. So it would basically be saying or trying to say that every single one of my pages is page 1, which is not accurate. So basically this function right here tells Word that what you want there is the unique page number for each individual page that you produce. Now right here I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to use my use my arrow key to go just right before that page number symbol, and I'm going to put my last name and 1 space, and this will ensure that there's always a space between my last name and the page number. Okay, and then that should take care of your header. Now, keep in mind, in the current iteration of Formatting Style Guide for MLA, you can have your last name and page number on every single page. Now, it used to be that your first page would not have your last name and page number on it. So your first page needed to be different. Now, although you should have and utilize the more modern version of this, if you ever have a teacher that's like, no, you're not supposed to have your last name and page number on the first page, well, first of all, they're utilizing an old version of MLA if they're using MLA. But if you want to honor their request, which you should because they're your teacher and you just do what they say, right? At least in terms of formatting your papers. What you'll do is you'll notice that there's this thing that says options over here. Press options, and it's going to give you some different functionality for your header and footer. So for example, if I want a different first page, I'm just going to click here where it says different first page. And then over here on the left, you'll notice it's brought up two options. It has first page. So when I click first page, you'll see my page number and such that I've already put in has disappeared and now has nothing in it. And then I can click other pages, and then it does appear, right? So basically you're distinguishing between the header and what it will look like on your first page, and your header and what it will look like on all the rest of your pages throughout your document. So basically, if you have a teacher that doesn't want your last name and page number on the first page, just make sure that when you're on first page that the header is empty and that the other pages have your last name and then the page number. Okay. I'm not going to need that because of course in the most recent version of MLA formatting, you can put your last name and page number on the first page. So I'm going to go back over here to options, and I'm just going to do same across the entire document. But you'll notice here there are different options too. If you need different even and odd pages, a different first page and even and odd pages, etc. Okay, but right now for standard MLA as it currently exists, we're just going to have same across entire document, and then my options go away. Okay. So now I'm going to click out of my header and we can start putting together our actual page. The first thing that you need on the first page is your name block. So you're going to have your name. Next, you're going to have your instructor's name. Then you will have the course name. And then you're going to have the date. Now, typically the standard way to format the date in MLA is going to be the date in the numeric value of the date. So let's say the 14th, and then the month, let's just say September, and then the year. So basically the date, the spelled out month, and then the full year. Now, I don't know very many teachers that would be or instructors who are going to get too picky about it if you did something like 9, oops, that's not a 9, 14, 21, for example. I mean, most are not going to be too persnickety about this, but technically the proper format, again, just technically, is date, spelled out, month, and then the year. And I'm going to fix my spelling because that should be proper. Okay, so once I have my name block, I'm going to enter down again, and I want to put my title, but I want my title to be in the middle of my page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to home, and I'm going to go to text alignment, which is this little symbol right here. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to go to the one that has everything aligned to the center. Okay, and you'll notice it brings my cursor to the center here where I can put my title. My title goes here and is, no, my I is not working, there we go, properly capitalized. So you'll notice that you should basically be capitalizing the first word and all your major words throughout. You can leave little words like and, is, etc., lowercase, but everything else should be capitalized, at least in the first letter. Okay, so I've got my title. Now I'm going to enter down, and I want to start my first paragraph, but it's centered right now, so I need it to go back over to the left-hand side. So I'm going to go back up here to the text alignment and go to the left adjusted side. So now I can start putting in my paragraphs, but I need my paragraphs to be indented to be with MLA standard formatting. So I'm going to press the tab key once, and it's going to bring me in 1/2 of an inch. Okay, now this is where my paper will start, and I will ensure that all of my paragraphs are properly indented All right, so now I'm just going to copy and paste this a couple of times just to make it look like an actual paragraph. So I'm going to Command C and then Command V, and then I'm just going to do this a couple times. And you only need one space after your period, so it should be period space T. And some of the older sort of formatting guides and stuff like that, sometimes they would tell you to have two spaces. That is no longer accurate. It just needs to be one. So I'm going to just copy that a couple more times. So it looks like we have a full out paragraph here. But you'll notice that whereas everything up here is double spaced, which it is supposed to be double spaced, you'll notice once we get down here, it's all single spaced again. Well, why is that? Well, you need to do a couple of adjustments. So this is what you need to do. I'm going to highlight everything that I've got so far. And I'm going to right click, or if you're on a laptop, on a Mac, for example, it's control click. I think it's also control click if you're on a PC laptop. Once I have my menu that pops up here, I'm going to go to paragraph options. I'm going to click that. So here's what's going on. Right now it says that after a paragraph, so anytime I enter down, it's going to leave 8 points between my the first line and the second line that is produced from me pressing enter. Okay, so that's why it looks double spaced up here, but it's really not technically. So what I want to do is where it says 8 points here, I'm going to zero that out. I'm going to say nope, 0 points. And where it says line spacing, right now what I have highlighted, there are multiple spacing schemas going on. So what I want really here is I want it to just be double spaced. So correct this to where it's not going to put space after your paragraph, and correct this line spacing to where it says double, and you should be good to go. After that, you're going to push OK, and then you'll notice that everything is now properly double spaced. Okay. Now, then you can just continue on, but something that you should also note, when you start writing at a collegiate level, one of the things that you will find starts to become suggested by some of your teachers or instructors, professors, etc., and something that I also am a fan of is subtitles or headers. This allows you to sort of organize your writing in a way that's a little bit more palatable for your reader. It's a little more organized. It's easier to sort of gloss over if you're trying to find a specific section, things like that. Because, you know, when you have 3 or 4 pages of writing, it's probably fine if you don't have headers or subtitles. But once you are getting into these more unwieldy lengths of papers, like 10 pages, 15 pages, 20 pages or more, there's a lot that's going on. So sometimes it is a good idea to sort of subsection out like your introduction, your methods, your literature review, etc. So if you wanted to add some headers or subtitles, what you'll do is make sure it's consistent throughout, but I'm going to enter down, and I don't want it to be centered. Actually, I want my subtitles just to be left aligned like the rest of my text. So I'm going to go up here to my text alignment again, and I'm going to move my alignment to the left. So here then I'm going to put, say, introduction. Okay. Now what you'll want to do though, although all the rest of your text should be like the same size and shouldn't be like bolded or anything like that unnecessarily, your subtitle though, you actually do want to have in bold. Okay. Now the other thing about this is if you have any additional subsections after this, so let's say I have introduction part 1 and introduction part 2 for some reason, that would be like not typical, but we're just going to sort of pretend for a moment. If that's true, then the second one shouldn't be bold. It should be instead italicized. Okay. So let's say this is part 1, and then we would have, part 2 down here. And that again would be italicized. Okay. And then you'd enter down, and I'm just going to throw a paragraph in there. I'm just going to copy and paste this just to give you the effect. It's not tabbed over, so I'm going to hit tab to indent, etc. Okay, so then let's say we would go into our introduction. Let's say our next section is our methods section. I'm going to put methods, but I don't want that to be indented. I want that to be over, so I'm just going to backspace it. And then I'm going to bold it because it's a subsection, right? And then let's say that's just one section. And then I'm going to put copy and paste that here, etc. Okay, so now we're going into a second page here. All right, but this is in essence how it would look. Okay, now let's say I'm all done. I've got my, introduction, methods, my everything all the way through my conclusion, and now I want to add my works cited page, for example. Okay, so I'm going to do file, or excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to insert up at the top, and I'm going to do a page break because your works cited page should appear on its own page. You don't want it to just appear right after the text on any old page. Okay, I'm going to add page break, and you'll see that so I have one page here, there's another page here, and there's just a little bit of text on my second page, and then I'm on my third page here. Okay, or it would be whatever is the next page in sequence. If you have like a 20-page paper already, then it's going to bring you to the 21st page, etc. Okay. So I want this to be my works cited, except I am still on my italics, so I'm going to take that out of italics. And you can adjust, your italics, your bold, etc. on your home page. That's these functions right here. But you can also use keyboard shortcuts, which, like on my Mac, for example, is like Command I will make it italicized, or Command B will make it bold. But I don't want it to be any of those things, so I'm going to take that formatting off. Okay. But once you're on your works cited, you actually don't want that to be aligned to the left. That's going to be another middle of the page section. So I'm going to put my cursor right ahead of that, and then I'm going to go to my text alignment again and center. Okay. So then now I can enter down, and I want to put my first works cited entry, but what I need to do here is make sure that it's aligned to the left again, right? So I'm going to go back up here to my text alignment and align it to the left. So now I can start putting in my entry. So make sure all of your entries on your works cited page are in alphabetical order. Starting, so I'm just going to make up an entry. So let's say I have Barrington, Joshua, period, the name, this is the title of a fancy article in an academic journal. Okay, so then period, and that. Or actually, I'm just going to put fancy academic book. I don't know. Because. So then I'm going to put the name of the book. Now notice everything in my title here is capitalized in the same sort of way that my title was. So like little words are not, right? Like of, a, in, and, etc. But all of the, more meaty words, so to speak, are capitalized in the on the first letter. So then I'm going to add the title of the supposed book this appears in, that will be italicized. The name of the article in the book is just put in quotation marks. So doing the book, this is a totally made up book name for the purpose of this sample works cited. I'm so clever. Okay, so then I can take off my italics, and then we're going to pretend like this has an editor, so we might be like edited by, and then we might be Maria Santa Ana. Something like that. Okay, so then period, and let's say it's published by Oxford University Press, comma, and the year. Let's say it's in 2015, or 16 is fine. 2016. Okay, so then we would also need the page numbers. So let's do PP 295 through 290. 9, I guess. It's a short article. And actually, let me make sure that this is correct. I'm still kind of learning the newer thing. So let's go to, I'm going to try Oxford University Press really quick. Purdue MLA. And this is how you look things up, ladies and gentlemen. See, even I'm unsure sometimes because they change the formatting every once in a while. So let's say we're doing works cited page for a book, and there's like a book with one author, book. So many books. An edition of book, works prepared by an editor, anthology, collection. So just page rate. Oh yeah, so okay, so actually I need to be comma pp. Okay, so see, even I need to look things up on occasion. So it would be comma, so after 2016, comma pp, and these are both lowercase, and the page numbers. Okay, so you'll notice that the way this is set up right now, everything is aligned to the left. But when you are doing a works cited page, you actually want to have a hanging indent, which means that the first line is aligned to the left, and all of the rest of that particular entry, so this line and this line, will be actually indented by a 1/2 inch underneath that first line. So I'm going to show you how to do this. What you're going to do is you're going to highlight your entry. You're going to right click and go to that paragraph option again. And here in this section, what you're looking for is this section that says indentation. Right now it says special, none. But really where it says special, we want to use this drop down menu and find the one that says hanging. So I'm going to click hanging. It goes in by a 1/2 inch, which is already what it needs to be. If it says something other than 0.5 here, change it to 0.5. And you're going to go, okay. And see, now you see that in this entry, the first line is all the way aligned to the left, and the succeeding lines for that entry are basically indented in, okay? Now, as you create your works cited page, let's say that you have additional entries. If I enter down, so if I'm up here and I just hit enter, then when I put in a new entry down here, it should automatically format to this hanging indent since I entered down from here, okay? So let's say I have, let's say, I don't know, what's the last name that's Chester? This sounds like a great made-up last name. Chester, comma, Pedro, period, another fancy title that is made up, and then period, and the name of the book would be, and I want this to be in italics, so fancy made up titles are something I am clearly not very good at coming up with. There's all kinds of wrong things there, but that's grammatically anyways. Okay, so here you notice that it automatically went from the first line. When it went down to the second line, it's already hanging, right? And as long as I'm just going to do ... We're going to pretend like I finished this entry, even though I did not. But now if I enter down, the same will be true with every other entry, as long as I continue to enter down from the last one, right? Now the other thing, sometimes you will need appendix items in your work, and you can kind of do that with the same way that you're formatting your works cited. So, or how you created your works cited rather. So right here I'm entered down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do insert page break, and here I'm going to have my appendix, And I need this to be centered, kind of like in the works cited, because your appendix should start again on its own page, kind of like the works cited. I'm going to go in front of appendix. I'm going to go to home. I'm going to go to the text alignment and center it. And then if you have any graphs or anything like that, you can kind of sort of copy and paste those in here or whatever. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is there are oftentimes instructors who like you to use specific text and text size. So I often want my class to use either Times New Roman or Arial font in a size 10 or 12. I prefer size 12 over the 2 though, just because it's a little easier to see. So I'm going to do Command A, or Control A if you're on a PC. Otherwise, you can literally drag and select everything. Basically, I want to select everything though, because I want to change my font all throughout. So basically, your font should stay the same size and whatnot throughout. You might have some things that are italicized or bold or whatever, but the text or the font type and the size should remain standard throughout. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to choose Times New Roman, and then I'm going to choose a size 12, and you'll notice that it changes my entire work. You just want to make sure that your font is consistent throughout, the size is consistent throughout, etc. Okay, but this is in essence how you set up a paper for MLA formatting in its modern or current edition. The other thing that you'll want to know how to do is if you're working online and then you need to upload your paper somewhere or send it to someone, etc., especially if you're working with Blackboard like my class is, or our class is if you are one of my students, you're going to want to know how to get your paper off of this to upload to whatever, online course thing you're using, whether it's Blackboard or Canvas or whatever the case may be. So what you're going to do is up here where it says File, go to File. You're going to go to Save As. And then what I would recommend, depending on what your instructor's preferences are, but usually download as a PDF is your best bet. The reason for this is if you download as a PDF, it sort of captures all of your formatting and whatnot and reproduces your paper sort of as it is here, rather than if you upload or download in a different format. Sometimes it can mess up like your spacing or your margins or things like that. PDF is sort of like one of the ways to most faithfully reproduce kind of how you have it formatted here on the page. So I'm going to do File, Save As, and then go download as a PDF. But if you need like a download of a copy of the Word file, etc., you can just do download a copy, save as, online, whatever. But if you need to like download it, download a PDF or copy right here. So these are probably the functions you're going to use the most. All right. So that's kind of how you get through and format everything and then save it to come out of Word online. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.